This week on the Grassroots podcast.
You couldn't, during that time, you couldn't pay me to tell me I wasn't going to the NFL.
Sometimes it's more than just being good at what you do. It's knowing everything around you in order to help you get you to your destination.
They've never done it, or they didn't do it that way, so they just want you to think that you can't do it, or there's no other way, but there's always more than one way to accomplish something.
I'm Quincy Kennedy.
I'm JFK.
And you guys are tuning in to the Grassroots podcast, hanging out here in the Fox Den.
Yes, Studio One.
Studio One, the Fox Den, the place to be for all things grassroots sports. Today's an exciting episode. As you guys can see, the set looks a little different.
Yes.
We have our friend here all the way back in Michigan, all the way in the States, Deshawn Hayes. How we doing, my friend?
How's it going, fellas?
Good.
Yeah, it's going great. Just to give a little context of this conversation, really pumped about this interview and being able to connect with Deshawn. We went to high school together, kind of grew up together, playing football together. And this will be releasing around September. So Gridiron is on and rolling in the States.
Way.
Everyone's getting their fantasy teams picked. Deshawn, you got your team picked?
I don't play fantasy football. They get to the real thing. You can focus on the real stuff.
So, with that being said, it is going into September, Gridiron season.
Yes.
And Deshawn has quite the football background, but this is going to be a bit of a different conversation. Really, we're going to get to the nitty-gritty about chasing dreams, opportunities, and what that looks like with failures, opportunities missed, and just pursuing your dreams and goal, never quitting. The dream is never dead, keeping the dream alive. So, Deshawn, for those who don't know you, give us a quick background about yourself, just what you've been going on the past couple years, and some of your football background.
Obviously, like you stated, state, Saginaw, to be exact. Little bit about myself. Basically, football has pretty much been my life since I was about 8 years old. I met Barry Sanders at a training camp. Obviously, a lot of you know he was probably the greatest running back ever for the Detroit Lions.
You right.
Yep, represent.
So I met him when I was about 8 or 9 years old. My cousin was dating Charlie Batch at the time for the Lions.
Wow. Throwback.
So I met, and ever since then it was pretty much, I knew the only thing I wanted to do was play football or be around it, or just anything to do with being on that gridiron. I've always wanted something to do with. So that's a little bit of how football came about for me, I suppose.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal. I remember actually, I'm thinking that you met him at SVSU when they had a training camp
back in
Saginaw. Yes.
Man, that takes us back.
That takes us back, way back.
And the thing about it, like, when we were growing up as kids, we always used to go to the Detroit Lions training camps. And, like, we used to sit there, watch the players, hold on to their equipment. And that was a huge part of our upbringing. And for our listeners, for those who don't know, we're talking about the Detroit Lions. They're the NFL team that's out of Michigan. Yep. And like we said, all three of us are from Saginaw, Michigan. So it's kind of crazy, man. And a podcast in Australia.
Yeah, and a podcast in Australia. So, Deshawn, I want to go back to 07, 08, 09 when we were in high school together. And I just want to talk about your high school career, just to get some people some context in the conversation we're getting ready to go in. But I'm just going to read off some stats from 08, 09 season, or actually throughout your 4 years of high school, what your numbers look like. And for those who are listening, these numbers are outstanding. For anyone who knows, Gridiron out here is starting to really grow, but Gridiron in the States, it's a religion, especially down south. We Americans breathe, sleep, dream, eat everything football, Gridiron. So these numbers I'm going to rattle off to you is no joke. So phenomenal numbers. So 3,000 yards rushing his whole high school career. All 4 years, so freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, average 15 to 20 rushing touchdowns, 60 touchdowns rushings his whole career, and 10 receiving total touchdowns, 5 kick returns, 3 punt returns, and heaps more where that comes from. So, Deshawn, tell us about 07, 08, 09, your sophomore, junior, senior year playing varsity football in Saginaw?
Oh my goodness, man! You couldn't during that time. You couldn't pay me to tell me I wasn't going to the NFL. Like I just everything was clicking. It was just it was a wonderful time. I came to Heritage obviously. What was that? 2004 was my first year as a freshman. Didn't know anyone. Didn't even know I was gonna be playing football. I had a buddy of mine. We both tried out. The first practice, I wowed everyone with my speed, athleticism, just pretty much everything as a person, everything how I am. I wowed everyone, and after that, it was pretty much history. Every year after that, I was pretty much, everyone knew like, oh, Heritage has Deshawn Hayes.
D. Hayes, and, number 20. I remember.
Number 20.
Absolutely.
There was the football forums that they had back then. I say back then, like 07, 08 is really that far.
It is, man. It really is nowadays.
It's like we're getting old.
But yeah, so there was a bunch of football forums. So there was a lot of trash talking. There was a lot of buzz going into my sophomore year, because that was like my first big year on varsity. Last year, the freshman year, I made a splash. How I made my name was as a freshman, I scored 6 touchdowns in the game. And after that, it was pretty much history. They just knew, like, oh, yeah, this kid's going to do something and going to be something big. So 06 to 07 was probably my best year. That was my junior year.
I remember that.
Won MVP of the league. I got All-State every year, since sophomore year. It was grand, man. It was like literally I felt like I was on top of the world. There wasn't, too much to worry about. It was just show up to school, do what I was supposed to do, and then show up on Friday to do my job.
Absolutely. And I remember that. I remember because I was a year younger than you. So I remember actually when you were playing your junior year, my sophomore year. So before I was playing varsity with you, I remember all the hype about D. Hayes, number 20, Deshawn. I remember going to the games, and I remember how chaotic the games were. I remember schools like from Midland, Bay City, Flint, people from all over were coming to see you play. And I remember how much ink you were getting in the newspaper. I remember our news channel had that like Friday Night Lights or something where they highlighted the game, and you was always the premier player. Like I just remember how much hype was around your name. And going into your senior year, I think things started to kind of change for you a tad bit with the dynamics of the team, the coaching. So let's talk about that. Honestly, but actually before that, just for those people who are listening, what Deshawn is saying, he was All-State every year. There were states hearing about him outside of Michigan, and he's a key player in Michigan. But he had other states talking about him outside of Michigan. And just for even my reference, I remember how many people, all the rumors of all the schools that were talking to you at this point. So for Gridiron, you go high school, college, and then to the NFL. So how many schools were really talking to you, and what schools were talking to you?
I'd say on average I would get pulled out of class or lunch. Let's see, I would get pulled out of class or lunch about 5 times a week, and I was getting close to about 30 to 40 letters a week. So I was getting recruited by pretty much all of the Big Ten. So Iowa, Indiana at this time, Purdue. I was getting some stuff from state. As far as like big SEC schools and stuff like that, I'm trying to think. It was ridiculous. I couldn't even keep up. I know I have them around here somewhere, but I still have an envelope. There's about that big, stacks of letters. It's unreal experience. It's really draining on you because the whole time you're just thinking, okay, I know I gotta pass these classes. I know I have to, keep my image clean. There's just so much stuff going on, and you're 16, 17-year-old kid, you know, you just want to show up to school, play football, be the man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and accept everything as it comes. But it really teaches you a lot of responsibility. I will say that. But yeah, it was constantly getting pulled out of class. Coaches from all over calling to the school. Yeah, I can't imagine what it's like for kids now that they have Twitter and Instagram and everything that there is now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, see, coming from, like, I've been through that process of being recruited, but that was through ice hockey. And, like, I remember, like, I would get, if you talked to, a coach pulled you after a game, it would be maybe once every 3, 4, 5 games. But just to imagine 20, 30 schools talking to you on a weekly basis.
Insane.
That's just out of this world. I couldn't imagine what that would be like.
That's
so I guess
massive.
just almost like the only thing when he said that, not like based on character or anything, but I'm thinking of Friday Night Lights. And I'm thinking Booby Miles, where he's just sitting in the gym and he's just like going rattling off this school, that school, this school. And the thing about it, especially when it comes down now, when can they actually start talking to you? Can schools start talking to you? What year?
They're not supposed to start talking to you, I think, until you're a junior.
Okay.
But I was getting stuff by, like, the middle of my sophomore year. I was starting to get, like, hey, those letters that's like, hey, we're not recruiting you.
Hey, you want to be pen pals?
Yeah, right. So to go deeper, and this is where we're really getting to the meat of the story. And yeah, Deshawn, just like completely be open, and we'll just enjoy this conversation. This is more for the listener. But you mentioned, so all these Big Ten schools, right? So anyone listening to Gridiron, like, this is every kid's dream. And as you guys heard Deshawn saying, like, there was no doubt in his mind he was going to the NFL. So you have Big Ten schools. That's like U of M, Indiana, Illinois. It's like massive big deals. Ohio State, these schools, Purdue, talking to you. You're going into your senior year. What's going on now?
I'm going to my senior year at this point. School is really hard for me right now. It's really hard to focus. You got basketball after football, and then you got track after that. So not only am I playing football, I'm playing 2 other sports after and still excelling in those sports as well. So it's like the buzz is bigger now at this point on those Friday nights when you get under the lights, instead of, you know, you just being D. Hayes number 20. Now there's chants, there's D. Hayes faster, saying all kinds of stuff to the other team. Now it's getting more personal. Kids are like, you know, patting you on your back more. They're building your ego up more. It's rough because you have to learn how to, like, literally juggle that stuff. And I came from a school where I didn't, like, there was probably 100 of us in middle school, and then I go to Heritage, and there's 3,000 of us.
Yeah, right.
So it's really like a culture shock for me, because I went from getting made fun of, and then now I'm that guy, you know, the popular kid at school who's, like I said, I'm going to the NFL and blah, blah, blah. And then so at this point, I find out Mark Ingram is coming to our league, our division, and that's when things get a little more real for me.
Well, let's talk about that, because I actually wanted to bring this up. So I vividly remember that game because he brushed against me when I was sitting on the sideline. So I remember
Quincy had a Justin Bieber moment.
but I remember that because I remember how packed that place was. I think that game was sold out, honestly. It was D. Hayes, number 20, Big Ten recruit, and Mark Ingram, right, from Flint. I believe it was Flint Central at the time. Or I forgot what school he came from. But it was like these two juggernauts of Michigan football high school going head to head. And I'll never forget that game because the hype was around YouTube. But I can vividly remember how I remember one play where you're in the backfield, and it's almost like you're getting like you got stuck like 5 or 10 yards in the backfield. There was like a handoff. You got stuck 5 or 10 yards in the backfield. This big defensive tackle had you wrapped up, and you just threw him off of you and then ran for like an extra 20, 30 yards. Like, I vividly remember that. But I remember, just chucked him. But I remember that game because how much better you looked than Mark Ingram. Like, I remember looking at that, like, this Mark Ingram guy is like, it's a joke compared to what D. Hayes is doing out there. And this is where this go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Yeah, just keep boosting my ego. but this is where the story transitions, because I'm sitting there watching this game and saying, like, wow, Deshawn blows this guy out the water. And now, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years later, Deshawn is still in Saginaw. Mark Ingram goes to Alabama, wins the first Heisman winner for Alabama, then goes first-round draft pick for the New Orleans. Not only was he the first Heisman winner at Alabama, he also ended up winning the championship with Alabama. So talk to me about that. What happened senior year, going into university? How did that happen? You're Big Ten scouted. You're better than Ingram in my eyes, yet this guy that you played with makes it to the NFL.
Basically, it was like I can't even explain. Like it was. He transferred. Like he was in a different district. He transferred to a school within our class or whatever. And like it was like they allowed it to happen. Basically, I don't know how. I don't understand it, but they allowed it to happen. Which for me it was cool because I'm like, all right, well that's more competition because I've obviously been running through everyone else. And it'll bring, it'll keep me on my toes. So that's how I was thinking. But I think the biggest thing of it was the reason behind it was his dad was actually in the NFL and won a Super Bowl as well. So I think a lot of it had to do with he already had the name for himself. And he obviously already had the NFL training. He basically had every stepping stone. Had to do was literally follow the syllabus that his dad and family had made out for him. I don't know if that's actually the case, but from the outside looking in, his situation was a lot different from mine. But I'm not gonna lie, he definitely worked harder than I did as far as in the gym, as far as being more of a professional. But like I said, that takes it back to. His name alone was going to get him somewhere. It's like Michael Jordan's sons. They weren't that great at basketball, but they both went to a great school because of who their father was. So it's like, when your DNA has NFL player written all over it, you're pretty much bound to go. It was a crazy year. Man, it's just... All that buzz, it seemed like that I had worked for and I had bust my butt for. It seemed like it was just, he came in and just stole it all away, like everything. But that game in particular, I really took that personal because I knew that, like you said, it was sold out. There was TV cameras, TV crews everywhere. There wasn't a place to sit in that whole entire stadium. It was a home game. It was our homecoming game, so that was my senior year.
I remember that.
We just couldn't go out, the way that everyone predicted us to. And we did come out on top. I outperformed him. It was just, I figured that after that game, everything would still be good, still be in order. But like I said, I didn't take school as serious as I should have. Not saying that I couldn't do the work, but it was really hard work, and it's a lot to juggle. People don't really understand what it's like unless they're playing sports. Juggling that schoolwork. Quincy, John, you went to Heritage, so you know what the curriculum was like at that school. It's like pretty much a college curriculum already. So yeah, man. That's pretty much how it ended up.
So building off of that, so from what I'm hearing, so did you go through clearinghouse? Did that not go well for you, or
what happened?
I didn't even know about the clearinghouse honestly until about the end of my sophomore year is when I found out about it, and this is why I hold some resentment to the school because it's like I was allowed to get away with a lot. I was allowed to just do what I want to do, and I wasn't like held accountable. Like my parents held me accountable, but when I got to school, it was just like they were passing me through classes. Like my homie, it was literally the jock's dream. Like exactly how they portray it on TV. You show up to school, everyone loves you. They build you up, and then they let you fall. They don't catch you and help you out. It's just, oh, sorry,
Wow.
Can't help you now.
And to give some context for our listeners, clearinghouse is pretty much the, I guess, bare minimum that you have to get in order to play NCAA sports. So that's an ACT score, SAT score, and I think that's a combination along with your grades.
Yeah.
So
and specific classes. Like at the time, there you have to take like 2 languages.
Yeah, and and there's different criteria.
Keeps progressing. They only add on more every year, so it gets worse for every kid every single year. That's when I was doing it. It was you had to have, by the time you graduated, you had to have like 2 years of a foreign language. You had to have 3 years of math, 4 years of English. But now they want you to have more credit hours, more. So I feel really bad for the kids now because I'm complaining, and it was kind of more laid back then than what it is now. They expect a lot of them now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And my heart's already starting to it's going for you right now because you're thinking a young kid in high school, you're living like you said, you're living the dream. And not only are you doing that, you're performing for that school and you're putting that school on a pedestal. And then they're getting all the accolades. It's Heritage, it's D. Hayes. But at the same time, your coach, as a coach, you should be mentoring these kids, and you should see the talent that's in your hands.
Yeah.
That coach, he was talking to more Div 1 schools than he's ever talked to probably throughout his whole college career, outside of McFadden, who came through before you. So they would know the system. They would know what to do, and hey, and sit you aside and be like, Deshawn, you have a great opportunity ahead of you. These are the things that you need to be doing over the next couple years. These are the teachers. Each and every time you go into a classroom or a course, talk to the teacher, make sure they know what you need to get. Let's do this together because I want to see this for you.
Absolutely.
And I just feel like that's a given. And maybe I don't want to judge this coach, but from the outside looking in, I don't see why there's any excuse that you wouldn't pay particular attention to an athlete like your status, or even for the whole team.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, when you're talking about high school sports, especially basketball, football, and things like that, it's a pyramid. You start in middle school, you go to high school, you go to college, and if all goes well, you go pro. That you don't have to worry about juniors and different teams and everything like in hockey. So when I'm looking at this, it's just hey guys, let's sit down. We're going to talk about clearinghouse. Yeah. And that should happen your freshman year, should happen your sophomore year. And you should be building kids up, not just to get them through the system hey, I'm just going to, or put the blinders on as a coach and well, you know what, as long as they're doing well on the field, that's all I'm getting paid for, or that's all I'm doing this for. Whatever they do in the classroom, that doesn't matter. No. As a coach, you almost deal with the kids. You're more of a mentor in some cases than some parents are.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're filling voids where there could be a mom missing or a dad missing. Yeah. And if you're not giving these kids the best foot forward in their sport or in their situation, you're failing them. And
absolutely.
Man, I feel.
And for me, that's kind of how I didn't grow up like the rest of the kids that went to Heritage. I wasn't for me, I was a city school kid that went to a town, obviously a township, more cultured school. So the curriculum that I was learning prior to coming to Heritage wasn't the same as, when I got there. I'm in city schools, they only give you a couple sheets of paper, one textbook, and say, go home, this is your homework, bring it back, you're all good.
Yeah.
When you go to these cultured schools and schools that, they have, inner baccalaureate and AP classes for this, and every class, it's it's a whole different world, and it's you're going to school with kids whose parents are doctors and physicians and all of this. So therefore, those kids are really smart, and you have to raise a curriculum for those kids. And it's I kind of fall in between, and I have to pick up the pieces and play catch up. And for me, that's what I was getting at, is there was really, I didn't have the tutoring or, the mentors or older people, but who wants to listen to older people when you're
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when you're a football star.
It's like it's just you guys know how it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just it was a really big learning curve for me, and even that, just even if I would have had someone to just say, I chose a school that I didn't even really have to choose. I just didn't want to be embarrassed by my grades being that low and coming on signing day and saying, well, where's Deshawn going? And me not sign anywhere at all. So I went to a Division II school when in reality, if someone would have told me, I could have just went to a junior college for a year or two, transferred out, and then went somewhere big for 2 years, and who knows what would be the case.
Hold on. Yes, let's talk about that. So, like what we were talking about. So, why didn't you go Division I NCAA? Was it because of your grades you didn't make clearinghouse?
Yeah, I just didn't make clearinghouse. I think I ended up, my GPA was maybe like a 2.1 when I finished. Like my sophomore through junior year, I kind of just diddle-daddled around, and then by the time my senior year came, I was playing catch-up. So even though I did catch up, it was just like, all the schools that were coming were like, we want you, man, we really want you, but we like can't take a risk on you. And the school wasn't helping because they weren't like patting me on the back like they were doing all those years. They were kind of just like, yeah, he's not that great at school, but it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work towards it. It was just I didn't know that that was my options. I was blinded by everything that was going. It was a circus.
That's wild. Like, man, I feel for you, bro. Like, this is years later, and just hearing the stories, like, wow, man, like that's insane. Like, that opportunity that wasn't completely your control. You know what I'm saying? Just circumstance.
That's what I say is like kind of I don't like about the States is like that think about how many kids that happens to. Like I've learned to kind of cope with it and work around it and find new avenues and stuff to kind of work that'll allow me to still be myself and be great, but I can pass that on to other people and show them that this is the way to do it and not this way. But it's like so many kids all over the world who get stripped of something that they're great at because they're not good at something else, that's a curriculum or a guideline. It's like every kid doesn't learn the same, everybody's different, everybody learns at a different pace. But I don't like how, our system back home is set up to where it's basically you're either good at school and you do good at school and you can go to college and maybe you can play sports, or if you're not good at school at all, we're just going to say, nope, that's it.
Put in the too hard basket.
Yeah, it's like it's hard, man. It's hard to think like that. Like, man, if only I was good at school, I can do this physical sport that has nothing to do with school, and I could probably be living a different life, But like I said, I've come to terms with it. I'm still going. I haven't given up, but I've come to terms with that's the reality of it, and I obviously have a different purpose now, which is to get my story out and help kids understand that you should never give up. I took 2 years off from football. I came back, still was playing, still excelled. You're going to get slower. Never got slower. I still run just as fast as I did. If not, I'm stronger than what I was because you have grown man strength now. It's just over here it's either you make it or, you crash and burn. And for me, I just want people to understand that that's never the case. People, they're only going to, they've never done it or they didn't do it that way. So they just want you to think that you can't do it or there's no other way. But there's always more than one way to accomplish something. And that's always been my goal, is to show people that, even though I wasn't good at school or, I could have tried harder. Guess what? You can still do it. You just can't give up on yourself. People are going to tell you that, it's past your time. You need to give it up and get a real job. You need to go do this. Nah, you just got. If you believe you can do it, if it's in your mind and in your heart, you have to do it, because otherwise, you're gonna wonder, 15, 20 years down the road, oh, I should have kept playing, or I wonder what would have happened, or maybe my life will be different. Maybe I would be rich if I would have did this. And I'm not one of those people who, regardless of what's happened to me, or regardless of who's held me back, or if I've held myself back, I'm not going to sit here and play pity party and say, play the world's smallest violin. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna keep trying, because there's, like I said, even if I don't keep playing football in the CFL or the NFL, I can still coach at a high level. I know a lot about the game. I can still tutor kids. Even my job now, I work at a YMCA here at home, so I'm constantly telling these same kids, don't make that mistake that I made. Do this, do that. I didn't have this role model when I was younger to tell me, if you just stay on this path, you'll be fine. Or even if this happens, you can still do this. So for me, that's just, they say in life, if you let the world, if you listen to the world, it'll speak to you. And that's kind of what I do. I just let the world kind of guide me to who I need to help and what I need to do, and, where I need to be at whatever point in my life.
Well, I mean, when you do officially hang up the cleats, you definitely have a career in motivational speaking, because I feel moved by that. And not just a bunch of words. I mean, I feel that in my heart, and I feel that in my soul.
And just from your heart.
And based off that, I just like to quote, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And I can hear that from your story, and your message is something that all of our athletes need to hear. All of our athletes need to know that. Need to know, one, sometimes things go your way, but sometimes they don't. And how do you bounce, and how do you rebound off that? And another thing that's important, I know a majority of our audience is from Australia, and but we still have people from across the world. But in your case, get the info. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's like ignorance is bliss, but, it's because you didn't have, like you said, that mentor, or you didn't have that information. Because if you would have had it, you would have done things differently. And for a lot of our hockey players that we deal with, I know, Quincy, with your camps and lacrosse, and I say lacrosse, that there's kids that talk about, I want to go over to the States and play college sports. Because to be honest, to be able to get your education and represent your school at the same time, it is an honor, and it is it's a lot of fun, and it's a great experience if you get the most out of it. And in order for you to do that, you do need to know the information about NCAA clearinghouse. You need to know how your grades transfer to other schools and stuff like that. So whether you're in the States and you're listening to this, whether you're in Australia, whether you're in South Africa, I don't know where you're at. But if this is a goal of yours, and if you want to get to that next level, or you want to go college, or in anything you want to do, sometimes it's more than just being good at what you do. It's knowing everything around you in order to help you get you to your destination. Because you could be at point A, and you're crushing point A. But there's a lot of stuff between point A and point B that you need to know in order to help navigate you to that.
Absolutely. And like Eric Thomas talks about, average skill, phenomenal will. But your situation, man, you had phenomenal skill, and I think you had phenomenal will as well, but there was something along the lines that was like that X factor, right? Talking about algebra, that variable that you missed, or that wasn't there for you, that X value, that really kind of determined what happened. But also what I like is you're not letting that hang you up. That's not the end of your story, right? So like, you're not just saying, woe is me, this is what happened, but you're getting up every morning, and we see the videos on your Facebook, and your Instagram,
on Facebook,
like
going hard,
man, and training, even when it may look like your season is done, right? Because again, for Gridiron in the States, man, it's like junior, senior year, like, man, that's it. Like, you go to the NCAA right after that, and then that is your opportunity. But to see you going and playing in Canada, to keep playing, to play even arena football, which most people think, oh, it's just arena football, it's nothing. But the fact that you kept playing, you kept training, look at my man, like, I'm still getting paid. But like, you trained so hard, and you still train. Like I said, it's evident on your social media. And that's what I love about it, man, because you're seeing you still have that phenomenal skill, and you're seeing that phenomenal will. happening, and I love that about you, and that's really why we have you on the podcast, man, because it's not just about your past, but what you're doing now. So let's transition into that. What are you doing now? What are your goals? What are your plans? What's going on for Deshawn right now?
I'm like I said, right now I'm working at the YMCA here in Saginaw. I run a youth work program. So it's all pretty much the inner city kids. Those kids who, like myself, they grew up super athletic, have that person who knows the ins and the outs of what's going on, and they don't have that person that's been there. So for me, every day it's, I'm telling these kids, they're in there, oh, Steph Curry, I'm Steph Curry with the shot. And I'm like,
post it up.
What's your work ethic like? What are you doing in school? I'll even, film them sometime to make them feel better and let them know that, people are always watching you. People are always, peeping you out, seeing what your work ethic is like, so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm also, on the side, I'm working on training people and starting up my own personal training, situation. So I'm trying to get that up off the ground. Just running a YouTube channel now. I've just started getting that going. Eventually, I want to open up a gym. I want to coach. There's a lot I want to do. It's just narrowing everything down into, I can do these 5 things under one facility, or I can do these 5 things in one place. So that's kind of what I'm trying to find, that happy medium where I could, bring kids in to train, bring kids in where I can just mentor them. And even if they don't want to train with me, I can just, let them know that this is how the world works.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to have to do. You got to have people skills. You got to have social skills, be able to market yourself.
Right. So good.
Motivational speaking, like there's a lot that I want to do. It's just narrowing it down to, who can help me, who can I work with to get this idea and this brand out, and like me and you, Quincy, talked about, it's it's just building it from the ground up, man. Waking up every day and, just getting to it, even when you don't want to, even when you're tired. You guys know I just had a daughter, so it's just, that's an extra motivation for me. Is like I want her to, go to school and be like, my dad's the strongest and he's 40 years old.
He's my hero.
Yeah.
He does this and he's still as fast as these other kids, and he helps a lot of kids, and he runs a boys and girls club or a youth center, shelter of some sort. Like, I just know at the end of the day, I want to help the youth, and I want them to understand that there's always first, second, third, fourth option. You just have to, don't limit yourself. Like, I always limited myself to football because I thought that's what my purpose was. But what I have come to know is God doesn't put people on earth to just play sports, So from that learning lesson, I figured out that, I played football, I excelled at that, but what my true calling is to simply reach people, touch as many souls as I can. Like I said, get people to understand that there's always, 1, 2, 3 escape routes. You always got to keep fighting. You can't give up on yourself because things get hard. So yeah, that's pretty much. I'd say that's what I want to do.
That's awesome.
That's good, man.
And see, that's why I think the name Grassroots so much. It resonates with me, and that's when we went to go on this project, and that when we started this podcast, when we talk about Grassroots, it's that foundation from the ground. When it comes on from sports, when it comes on from life, when it comes on from the character of a person, that's what you just mentioned, the grassroots of it all. And that's what you have. From all of this you could call pain, and from all of this trials and tribulation comes strength. Yeah. From this comes understanding. Comes from this a story worth telling. Yeah. And I don't think anything worth having is worth working for. And I'm a true believer in that. And this has been incredible.
Yeah, it's been incredible, and I've been so pumped waiting for this recording, man. And we've been talking for the past couple months, and I even remember talking to you a couple months back, just saying, "Hey, I see what you're doing, man. Like, we gotta work together sometime in the future. Keep it up. Like, keep pursuing things, and get off some of those social media tips that you were on. But at the same time, just keep doing what you're doing, pursuing the goals, pursuing the dreams. And man, just so much ambition in you. And not to toot your horn anymore. I mean, I think they did that back in high school enough. But man, just pumped to see what you're doing. Pumped to see that you do have a vision for the future, that you do have a passion. And like you said, like it's not done. Like, all because you may have missed this opportunity. John said it really good earlier. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And I think that first one for you learned. And now you're going to win. Now you're pursuing it, and now you're going after it. Now you're in the trenches, right? The trenches being the place that you are, the place between where you are and where you want to be, right? That's the trenches, and I think that's where you're in right now. And just to see what you're doing for the youth at the YMCA, and the fact that you're still giving time to your family, you're not letting that go to the wayside, and you're still staying healthy, you're still pursuing training, working on your own business, man, my hat's off to you, man. I'm really happy to hear that. I think you're really giving an example for other young men, especially in Saginaw.
Appreciate that. I really do, man. I appreciate you guys even having me. Like you said, you guys stay all the way in Australia, and you're noticing, even though you're from here and we know each other, we're hours apart.
Jeez.
So, you're still noticing. So like I said, obviously something's being done right. So that's all I want to do is keep doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Radio, Deshawn. Well, hey, we appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking time out with your family to hang out with us. Make sure you tell the wife and the little girl that we appreciate you hanging out with us and them sacrificing your time. Man, my hat's off to you again. Hope you have a great rest of this year. Finish strong. And, man, much success to you. Obviously, we'll be in communication. But, hey, thanks for hanging out with us at the Grassroots podcast. For all those who are listening, if you like the podcast, if you like this content, please, great message that needs to go out to more people. Please share this. If you feel like it added you value, make sure you click the red button, subscribe below, and subscribe, leave comments, ask questions. Also, if you're listening on iTunes, make sure you leave a comment, not for our sake, but because it helps us get up there in the iTunes ratings, and it helps us get podcasts and messages like this out to more people.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, Deshawn, happy to have you. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon, mate.
I appreciate you guys. Much gratitude. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Enjoy.
All right, now. Have a good one.
You too.